Now with a look at his life and legacy, Chris.
Yeah, Colin Powell wore many different hats during his time in D.C., but in a town known for its political divisiveness, Powell was known as someone who always sought unity and will be remembered as someone who made decisions based on principles, not politics. Colin Powell was a true American success story. When President Bush appointed him as Secretary of State, he became the highest-ranking African-American official in the history of the United States. His parents were Jamaican immigrants who raised him in the South Bronx. After graduating from the City College of New York, he took an Army commission and served in Vietnam. He rose in the ranks, becoming a general, and was appointed the head of the National Security Council by President Ronald Reagan. Operation Desert Storm in 1991 made Powell an even more familiar face.
Our strategy to go after this army is very, very simple. First, we're going to cut it off.
When he retired from the Army, Powell wrote his autobiography and chaired America's Promise, a nonprofit organization dedicated to building character in young people. There was speculation he might run for president, but his wife, Alma, was against it. Then Powell was called upon by George W. Bush.
I am honored to be given the opportunity to return to public service as the 65th Secretary of State.
Though he initially opposed the idea, Powell agreed to go along with the Bush administration's plan to forcibly overthrow Saddam Hussein. He then went before the United Nations and the world to build the case for invading Iraq.
Saddam Hussein and his regime are concealing their efforts to produce more weapons of mass destruction.
Later, after the U.S. was firmly entrenched in the war, inaccuracies were found in Powell's speech, and the Bush administration said it acted on faulty intelligence. Powell admitted the UN speech was a painful blot on his record and pushed for reform in the intelligence community. Since the news of his passing, tributes have been pouring in, including longtime friend and former Southland Congressman Elton Gallegly.
I don't know that I've ever met a person that loved his country more than Colin Powell did. And he lived it every day in his life. He was dedicated to protect this nation.
President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris also spoke out.
You know, what an incredible American. He obviously served with dignity. He served with grace. He was the epitome of what it means to be strong, but at the same time, so modest in terms of everything that he did and said.
Yeah, and both sides of the presidential political aisle weighed in on Powell's passing. Former President Obama said he was an example of what America and Americans can and should be. Former President George W. Bush released a statement saying, in part, he was such a favorite of presidents that he earned the Presidential Medal of Freedom twice. He was highly respected at home and abroad, and most important, Colin was a family man and a friend, but definitely a lot of reaction that will no doubt keep pouring in. Juan, we'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Chris. And more reaction here. Condoleezza Rice, who worked with Colin Powell in the Bush administration, called him a trusted colleague and dear friend. She went on to say his devotion to our nation was not limited to the many great things he did while in uniform or during his time spent in Washington. Colin, his wife Alma, were especially dedicated and proud of the Colin Powell School for Civic and Global Leadership at the City College of New York, a place very near and dear to his heart. Much of his legacy will live on in the countless number of young lives he touched.
And here's a live look outside Colin Powell Elementary School in Long Beach. The school, named after the first African-American Secretary of State, opened in September 1999 and serves about 1,100 students. More from the school and its principal on the CBS 2 News at 5.
While Powell died from complications of COVID-19, he also suffered from underlying health conditions, including Parkinson's, but more specifically, multiple myeloma. That's a blood cancer. Dr. Jonathan Reiner from George Washington University spoke to those health issues, its treatment, and how it relates to COVID and vaccinations.
The treatment for multiple myeloma, which patients often take every day, itself can suppress the immune system. So General Powell represented our most vulnerable population in this country. He was over the age of 80. He had cancer, and the treatment for his cancer made him vulnerable. So when we try and convince young people who feel that they are low risk from the virus itself, why they need to be vaccinated, it's to protect our treasures, our people like General Powell.
And stay with KCAL 9 News for continuing coverage of Colin Powell's passing. Throughout this newscast, we will bring you quotes and speeches from Powell that will undoubtedly live on.
Protests across